This is a message to thank the Royal Philharmonic Society for supporting my concert series, Spotlight Chamber Concerts, through their Enterprise Fund, and to provide an update on what I've done so far and the lessons I've learned. As we emerged from the first lockdown back in 2020, I felt that there was a way to make concerts happen safely even though most major venues were still closed. I started with an outdoor series, the Bandstand Chamber Festival, and then in December I moved on to start Spotlight Chamber Concerts. I also wanted to create the best atmosphere possible, avoiding the sense of a mostly empty, socially distanced auditorium. You can get a really good sense of what the concerts are like from these images by photographer Matthew Johnson. When I applied to the RPS, I just finished the first series, which actually got slightly cut short by another lockdown. The second series took place after a further 6 months with no live music at all, and the third series happened 9 months after that. At a really difficult time for musicians, I've so far paid out over £42,000 in artistic fees across 3 series, and a fourth is planned for winter 2022. Spotlight Chamber Concerts has had an amazing roster of artists so far, many of whom have pledged to return and play at the series in future. Thanks to the RPS Enterprise Fund and the other charities that have supported me, Spotlight Chamber Concerts has gone from a small pandemic project to just about being able to carve out a space for itself in London's busy, saturated music scene. If I had to give some advice to someone hoping to start their own similar project, I think these would be my top tips based on my experience so far. First, it can be surprising how even in big cities like London, there are really strong local communities. If you're setting something up in a particular community, you may have more luck building an audience through local mailing lists, organisations and individuals than by focusing on a more general approach, though I'd say both are necessary. If you're working with artists from abroad, you might also want to write to their embassy or cultural institutes in the UK to ask if they might publicise your project. Second, a slightly mundane point, but I found that things move very slowly if you rely entirely on email, so I suggest picking up the phone whenever possible. Third, money is the biggest barrier to realising most artistic projects. Part of that is fundraising, and part of it is also attracting an audience. For publicity, I've found that budget-wise, focusing primarily on online and social media advertising has been the best way forward. When starting from scratch, it's really hard to build up a following, and it's really hard also to ensure that what you do post gets seen. Part of this is to do with the nature of what you post. I've had to get much better at designing engaging posts and making trailers and videos. A particularly helpful resource I found is Feed. You can find them at tryfeed.co, and my referral code is AF789. You set a daily ad budget, which can be as low as a few pounds per day, and you can pause it whenever you like. It basically automates which of your posts get boosted, selecting the most effective. I'd highly recommend it. Do also look for as many free or cheap listing services as possible, or relevant mailing lists who might help you publicise your events. So, that might help with finding an audience. In terms of fundraising though, most people trying to run artistic projects are pretty used to the idea of applying for grants. But writing to individuals to solicit donations can feel a lot less comfortable. I would say that it's absolutely worth doing, particularly because it might cut out a lot of months of waiting around to hear back from applications. If you have a large hole in the budget, it can be a daunting prospect, and it's very easy to get fixated on that, finding large sums of money to plug the gap. If you're lucky enough to know people who can help in this way, then that's great, but more likely is that you will know more people who could help with much smaller donations. Just think how many people regularly raise thousands in sponsorship to run a marathon, for example. You could crowdfund or simply write to everyone you know, friends, family friends, interested acquaintances, anyone who might support the project, whether because of the thing that you're doing itself, or because they want to support you personally. Finally, if you'd like to start something, it's sometimes really confusing to know what order to do things in. In my experience, you need to at least have a few major parts of your plan in place, even if it's just in pencil, before you can start raising money. This might mean you have to book people before you have much in place, so it is important to manage expectations and be completely clear and transparent with everyone. It can feel like a huge leap of faith, but it is a leap worth taking. Thanks again to the Royal Philharmonic Society for supporting me. I highly recommend looking up the other recipients of the RPS Enterprise Fund for some inspiration. There's such a great range of fantastic imaginative projects out there. If you've made it this far, thanks very much for watching, and hopefully see you at the next series of Spotlight Chamber concerts later this year.